This is a type of video I've seen where instead of a top 10 list of games of the year, it's where they keep a record of every game they played in the year and then give a short summary for each. So here is my personal opinion of ranking the 26 games I beat in 2023, whether released in that year or not. Every game here I played and finished in 2023, except for one which I beat not too long ago before finishing this video, but started in that year. Let's do it. So let's start with the bottom, which is Klonoa Door to Phantomile. This game got old really fast. It's fine. I would only recommend it if you want to play all the well-known platformers out there. Like, these mechanics were fine. It's just another 3D platformer. I mean, Klonoa is pretty forgettable in my opinion. The bosses were pretty standard. Again, it's more like a collector's game. Just play it if you want to play another platformer that's more niche, otherwise play the big ones. Next I have one that's going to disappoint a lot of people, but I really just couldn't get into it that much, and that is the Titanfall 2 single-player campaign. Maybe it's because I played it like a conventional shooter, but other than that, I just wasn't that interested throughout the 4 to 5 hours that I played it. It is short and sweet, but the sweetness just wasn't enough for me, and I just found the bosses to be very uninteresting, the platforming to be fairly simple, the weapon variety, fine. I don't know, maybe it's just not my kind of game. I understand why people would really like it though. We have Before Your Eyes. Now from here on out, these games are at least decent, and Before Your Eyes, I didn't love it as much as a lot of other people do, because the thing about Before Your Eyes is it's a very emotional game, it's a very memorable game. I really love the idea of using your camera to play the game with the blinking mechanic. It got kind of old, and sometimes it was pretty annoying to use. I think it's a feature that can evolve over time. Story was pretty cool, and maybe one day I'll play this again. This is like a bedtime story kind of game, if you get what I'm saying. We have Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII. This is a solid prequel to Final Fantasy VII, the original game, and basically remake, even though, remake changes a lot of things, but Crisis Core is still a great game for those who are really into Final Fantasy VII, and just Final Fantasy in general. It's an action RPG, solid characters. The reason why it's pretty low is because, as far as gameplay is concerned and memorability, it's not something too crazy. It is very small scale compared to mainline, which is because, it's not a mainline Final Fantasy game. But let's see how relevant this game is when Rebirth comes out. Proteus is a cool game to play while you're doing something on the side, whether that be talking to a friend or watching a video or listening to a podcast, and it's a pretty cool Doom-like. It's on Game Pass. You got a large arsenal of weapons, you got the classic style that the original Doom game used, and there's really not much else to say, It's a solid game where you just shoot up enemies and fight bosses and traverse through different levels. 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors, which is kind of a cult classic game. Now, I was itching for a new mystery visual novel last year, and I'm a big fan of franchises like Ace Attorney or Danganronpa, and usually people recommend this, and what do I think? It was a great game. The characters were a bit forgettable, but while you play them, you do remember them quite well. It's just after that, not so much. And the concept was really cool of, many different people being abducted into a sinking cruise, and they have to solve these puzzles which take place with 9 doors in the mix. And the concept was just very cool, and I hope to play the sequel one day. Astro's Playroom at 19. This is a game where it's simply a tech demo of the PS5. This is not what you should be looking forward to when you get a PS5, but it's a good game to play when you have some free time. So Astro's Playroom is very nice with its visuals and the way it shows off its PS5 controller, as well as showing off the previous consoles of the PlayStation family. It's just a cool way, just, sit back, relax, have 1 hour of your life playing this game. Play a cool platformer, look at some cool Sony game references. It's pretty nice. Nothing crazy, but nothing horrible. A short hike. And the game is, as the title says, a game about a short hike. It can be completed in about 1 or 2 hours, which is great, as it lives up to the name, and you simply play as this penguin who needs to collect these gold feathers and these other tools to simply go on a short hike to the top. And it's just a little cute game to play. I feel like anyone who wants to get into indie games, this is the essential game. And I played it on Game Pass too, which was nice. So a short hike, if you want a short game, there you go. Detroit Become Human. Now, coming into this game, I didn't really know whether I would like it or not, since these are not really the type of games that I play too much, but this was a very good narrative for the most part. The only problem is that Connor's story is just so much better than Kara's and Marcus's. It's not that those two had bad stories, it's just Connor's is just way too good. And as far as the gameplay goes, yeah, it was really cool just seeing how many different possibilities there are and seeing the percents of other players, what percent of players got this, what percent of players got that, and the settings and the graphics are amazing, and this is just yet another iconic exclusive from Sony. Dead Space Remake, which is the first 2023 game mentioned in this list, and is also basically one of the first games of the year to really get things going, and Dead Space Remake came and delivered. Now, I have not played the originals, but this was basically my dive into the franchise and just survival horrors in general since I don't have too much experience on them. I will be mentioning another survival horror though later in this video. And as far as the game goes, this game is a prime example of simple yet effective, and I just love the bosses. I love how it actually does get pretty scary sometimes, and I'm usually not one to get super scared from playing games. And the different variety in weapons, and just how anything can happen at any moment, this game has aged very well when you look at its original. Neon White. Neon White to me is the single player game you want to play with your friends. Now what do I mean by that? Basically, in each level, you want to get the fastest possible, and you want to compare it with your friends. Now you don't have to play like this, but it makes it a lot more interactive. But yes, this platform FPS combination with the corny dialogue and the pretty cool art style, it's just a fun ride overall. But the best part about this game still, to me, is definitely the soundtrack. This is probably one of the best video game soundtracks I've ever heard. I'm not even kidding. Neon White is probably like top 10 soundtrack of all time to me. But that may change. I haven't revisited this game in a while, but I still listen to its game's music from time to time. Now we have Ghost Runner 2. This is a game that released in 2023, and it is in fact an improvement over the original, the first game. The bosses are better, the platforming is better, the motorcycle feature is insane. I love this, more games need to do this. It's nothing to write home about, it's what you get. A cool, difficult platforming game with some hack and slash elements. You can't go wrong. Play Ghost Runner if you need a game to just get through real quick. Doom 2016. Now with Proteus, you just sit back, you relax, and play the game while you listen or talk to someone else. But with Doom 2016, my eyes were glued to that screen, because Doom 2016 is crazy. Now, not as crazy as Doom Eternal, because let's be honest, Doom Eternal is the better game, but for what Doom was in 2016, that is an insane reboot. It is a very good game. Doom just makes everything better. I just wish the bosses were a little bit better. That's kind of like my issue with it. And I think the pistol is just not that cool. But they fixed this in the sequel, The Last of Us Part 1 Remake. Now I know what you're thinking. Why is this so low? Surely there can't be 11 more games that you enjoyed more than The Last of Us, right? Well, there is. And again, I think The Last of Us was a great game. But it's not like, to me, the game is not overall like a 10 out of 10. Why? So when it comes to this game's story and characters, it's a 10 out of 10. I'll say that. Like, the story is peak. The gameplay is where it's just not a masterpiece. I think the gameplay was fine. I think it's just a matter of Naughty Dog's gameplay style just not being my kind of gameplay in a game. And well, it was fine overall. Like, I think the story just really carries that. But overall, The Last of Us Part 1 is a great game. It makes so much sense why it's iconic. And with the second game, I have not played that, but when I do, I guess I'll give it a try and see where that ends up. I do plan on playing that in 2024. At 11, we have Hades. Now from here on out, I would recommend these games over and over again. These games are amazing. So Hades, why did I not play this game back in 2020? This roguelike is absolutely fantastic. The combat is super fast, it's replayable. I have not replayed it, but I want to replay it again just thinking about it. The characters are very good looking, and there's just so much variety in approaching it, and it's a good type of stressful. What do I mean by that? Basically, this game keeps you on your toes, and sometimes when you lose, it is a bit frustrating, but I think that is a part of the charm. Next up, we have Sifu. This is one of the best indie games ever made. I don't know what else to say. I really love how everything in this game is approached. Just about everything. Maybe not the story too much, but I guess they weren't trying to have a super in-depth story. But the graphics, the way the art style is very nice. I love that this game has a mechanic to where instead of losing lives, the way lives work in this game is actually your age. And the combat, the martial arts are very realistic, and the game length is based around your commitment to the game. So how long is the game? All depends on how good you are at getting better. Just like Hades, I would play this over and over again. Now, Jedi Survivor. This one caught me by surprise, and let me explain why. So I played Jedi Fallen Order, and I thought it was a decent game. I wasn't too crazy about it. I understand why a lot of others may be, but nonetheless, I was excited to play Survivor to see how they would improve it. And my goodness, did they improve it so much. Everything about this game except the performance at the beginning, we don't talk about that. But as far as the game goes, everything is better. The story, better. The bosses, better. The traversal, better. The combat, better. The music, better. Everything is so good here. Is it perfect? No. Is it a masterpiece? No. But it is still, and there's a section of the game where you play as a spoiler character, fighting a spoiler character that I will not spoil because I really want you to discover this for the first time, that really just solidified this spot on this list. Then comes Hogwarts Legacy. This was a really good game. I guess it fell off a bit in terms of how exciting it was, but I would still place this at where it is on this list. And as for someone who has never really consumed any sort of Harry Potter content, this was a good introduction to the universe of Harry Potter. And I really like some of the character stories, such as Sebastian. The combat is fun, the traversal is fun, and I really like the school and open world system. It kind of reminded me of Bully, which I have made a video comparing the two games. The bosses were pretty cool, did get a little bit old, and I would still say this is a game that might not age too well in the long run, but for now it is still a very good game to play and one of the better games of 2023. Next up is Hi-Fi Rush. We need more games like this. This game just came out of nowhere. This game is very unique. Yes, there are games that are comparable to it, but just look at it. You literally do your attacks to the beat, and it creates a rhythm, and the characters are very charming, and the art style is like a very nice type of cartoony. The bosses are so fun. I literally made a video about the bosses because I just loved all of them so much. Yes, some were better than others, but that's besides the point. It's replayable. Like, I want to play this again, and I want them to continue on with Hi-Fi Rush, expand this franchise. Next up, Final Fantasy VII Remake. Another game I took way too long to play, but this is just such a good JRPG. Yeah, a couple issues here and there, plus the fact that it is simply one part of the trilogy, but this is how you modernize a classic JRPG. The switch to action-based combat, while retaining some of the turn-based elements, is genius, and there's just so much charm. Only 4 fully playable party members, but that's no issue. I cannot wait for Rebirth. Now, we're at the top 5, and my 5th game has its own little section when I was writing this list. What do I mean by this? Well, it is better than the games I listed from Final Fantasy VII Remake to Hades, but it is not as good as my top 4. This game is almost a masterpiece. It was so close, it almost broke in being in one of my favorite games of all time, and that is Resident Evil 4 Remake. Wow, now I understand why this game is on so many people's lists of their favorite game of all time. And this was also my entry into Resident Evil. I finally got into the franchise, and what did I get? I got an awesome story with a bunch of cheesy dialogue, but that adds to the charm, some very cool and memorable characters, and addictive gameplay. This apparently is the game where they took Resident Evil to a more action-oriented game, and it just works too well. I just remember a lot of the one-liners, and the bosses, and the music, and I get a lot of TikToks about this game for a reason, because I just want to keep reading about it. There are 2 parts of this game that I didn't like though. One was the catapult scene where I had to escort Ashley out of the area, and the other one was the Ashley section. I love when games like switch up the protagonist or the main character, but that section was just not it. I'm sorry, Capcom. And now we are at the 4 games that I think are masterpieces, 10 out of 10s. One of the best games I have ever played, and we're going to start with Super Mario Bros. Wonder. I mean, come on, it's mainline Mario. Of course it's going to be peak. Nintendo pulled the classic announced and released in the same year, and this is not only a 10 out of 10, but in my opinion, this is the best 2D Mario game they have made, and I've played a lot of them. Freedom to pick your character at the beginning, the switch in formula with badges, changing the game while having a smaller assortment of power-ups, and the wonder effect to make the levels even crazier. 8 worlds that will just make you smile. With an additional world, they ramp up the difficulty to levels never seen before in an official level. Man, I love Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Now, our top 3. Number 3, Red Dead Redemption 2. This is the best Rockstar game I have played. Nope, put your hand down, GTA 5. Only issue with this game is how certain parts of its gameplay and mechanics may be a bit outdated. Other than that, this game knows how to keep you at the edge of its seat despite its very slow-paced style. The story goes to incredible lengths to tell itself, the vastness of the world, and the amount of things you can do while not feeling overwhelmed. Still one of the best looking games, despite it being over 5 years old. I think my favorite thing about this game is its memorability, the way they assess the characters and show how unique everyone is, as well as being able to remember events that just went down in the games, as if it's muscle memory. I understand why so many people over on TikTok say this is their favorite game of all time. Now, what was my original game of the year? Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Every time I saw a trailer for this game, I ate it up. I just had to look at all of it because I was so excited for this game, and it came and delivered on everything. Now, I understand people are starting to criticize the game. They're saying, yeah, you know, maybe it wasn't all that. I think it was all that. It's just that, yes, you are right. It does play it safe. But think about it. What could they have done? I mean, in my opinion, I think the other 2 games, PS4 and Miles Morales, were just peak, and this just made it even better and created a much better storyline. Now, some may disagree with me, but I think that this inclusion with Venom was absolutely fantastic. From the missions, the synergy between Peter and Miles, and the new addition of the extra content, I immediately went on to 100% the game, because this is the type of game where they make it so fun to get everything, to just do everything. And the references to other parts of Spider-Man, the traversal is even better. I mean, literally, look at the wings. It feels like it was just everything I asked for plus more. That's the best way to describe this game. Everything I wanted from the last game, and then some more. Oh, one more thing I have to mention. When I played the other 2 games, I thought there is no way they could top the opening scene of those 2 games in Spider-Man 2. They did. However, in the end, the best game I played this year, and also my game of the year, come on, it's obvious. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. As a disclaimer, no, I have not played Baldur's Gate 3, maybe this year I will, but like many, Tears of the Kingdom was my most anticipated game. Just like with Spider-Man 2, I felt, how could they possibly top the masterpiece that is Breath of the Wild? And once again, they did. This game plays with the same map as the previous, but innovates through changing up the mechanics Link has access to, while introducing new characters and bringing back old to have a different way of telling the story. The shrines are undoubtedly more fun. This game knows how to make an open world game, as it is so easy to get lost in it. I opened the game looking to do 1 or 2 tasks, and then where did the time go? Creativity has reached new levels. The exploration makes it feel as if it's not the same world sometimes. It's one of those games where you play the opening part and you just know it's going to be a 10 out of 10. With that being said, I hope their next Zelda game goes for a different formula and this remains a duology. Tears of the Kingdom will go down as one of the best open world games ever made and one of the best Nintendo games ever made. The only Nintendo game I like more than this one is Super Mario Odyssey. Those are all of the games I played last year, and this is my ranking of all of those games. This took a little too long to make, just a little bit. No, it took a long time. But I'm glad I got it out in the end. Let me know what games you played last year. There was a lot of games I played and 2023 was insane, and I hope to ramp it up even more with 2024 with both new releases and games I have not gotten to yet. That's all for now. I hope you look forward to the next video.